And what's up, everybody? And welcome to another fun-filled episode of Codex's Comic Character of the Week. As always, I am your host and a little under the weather still, Jamie. But with me, as always, we have the Slab Guy slash Barry, Sal.
What's up, guys? How you guys doing? Check me out on YouTube at Sal's Comic Corner and Instagram as the Slab Guy 77.
We also have the artist known as Dan Kelly.
Boom.
How's it going? You can as Sal's got up there, you can find me on Instagram at Dan Kelly Art. Search hashtag Dan Kelly Art. Commissions are currently open and more reasonably priced than anything else you're going to find on there. And then we got this guy over here.
The one that started it all.
Guys? What's going on, guys? My name is Kevin. I created a group over on Facebook called Comic Character of the Day, where we post a character, the cover, a miscellaneous cover that I think is cool, any kind of news of things that are going on in the community, and the question to get the audience participation. And we're going to be doing a comic book giveaway of free cool stuff at 500 members. And if you come on over and join up, you'll get the opportunity to enter for free goodies. So come on over, check us out, join up, and let's build all of this together. And Jamie, what's up?
Right now?
Yeah.
At the moment, doing a show,
Smooth.
Kevin.
Smooth.
Okay. All right.
No, but
That's
guys,
a rock solid transition there.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Right.
what's up?
How's that
But,
wall coming, Jamie?
I'm on the third row.
Nice.
I'm
Nice.
Have you
still
got
working on putting
my picks up yet?
your picks are I'm behind me sitting. I'll be showing those off after next week. By the way, everybody, we will not be running any shows as of this week when this comes out, due to the fact that it's Thanksgiving and everyone needs some time with their family and friends. Jamie needs time to recoup and not feel like he's dying for 5 seconds. But while I'm not dying, go check out the codexstation.com, your one-stop shop for everything Codex. Meet the team, buy some merch. Every little bit helps. Go check out the socials. All of them are posted on there. No reason, no excuse for you not to do that. And I feel like I'm missing something, Sal.
I know.
Absolutely.
Do you like comics?
Love
No.
'em.
I like
Do you
comics.
like do you like saving
bad.
money?
I love saving money.
I
Then
spend
I've
more.
got the website for you to. You got to
What
go
is
to Heroes Corner Comics.
Yes.
If you
And
go
we,
to the
Tell
site,
us more.
what's that?
I was say, and
Tell
we
us
will be
more.
showing
Tell us
more and talking about more later on in this episode. But
Yes.
right now, you can save 20% off using the keyword Codex at checkout. But be in store for more later on today.
Yes. Stand by.
But without further ado, guys, Codex's comic character of the week this week is the one, the only, fastest man alive, Barry Allen, the Flash.
One of them. One of them.
Shut up, Kevin. Dan, kick us off with the origin.
All right, so Barry Allen is the Flash. His first appearance was in Showcase number 4 from September 1956. He was created by Robert Kanigher and the great Carmine Infantino. This was a significant issue, not just because it was the first appearance of Barry Allen, but because it was the first comic that kicked off the Silver Age of comics, making it one of the most significant comics to exist. Barry Allen is a police forensic scientist, and when he was working in his lab late one night, a lightning bolt came in and struck a rack of chemicals in his lab that splashed into him and hit him with the lightning and gave him his super speed. He also has enhanced senses, reflexes. He can heal quickly. He can run fast enough to run up the side of a building, run over water. He can vibrate through walls, and he's a scientist, so he is super smart, which is something that he puts to use in many scenarios that make him great, that Kevin will take away and give us some examples of.
Yeah.
It's funny that you should mention that, actually, because I think the way Barry works best is as a scientist. When they lean into his deductive reasoning and his science, it separates him out from the rest of the guys who can run fast. I think they need to delve into that more. One of the things that I read recently was Batman Flash, the Button,
Button.
and
Yes.
everybody always just thinks Batman is the detective. But one of the parts of that early in that run was Barry's like, I can look around the room and know exactly how everything happened here just by just looking around, seeing the in order and how everything came to get to this point. And I just think that they need to lean into his scientific, deductive, detective aspect as often as they can to make that character really stand out well. And that's my take on that particular aspect of the character. What do you think there, Sal?
I kind of agree with you. I like the scientific aspect of his mindset and thinking, and all that is good. But there is one thing that I really think that stands out to him for me is him being an inspiration to others, not just other superheroes, but other just regular folk as well. He kind of
Yeah.
reaches out to them and inspires hope in everybody, not just supers, but normal people as well. And I think that really resonates with me. What about you, Dan? What do you
Makes
have?
sense.
Yeah, I agree with both of them. Definitely how he inspires hope into people. I mean, in a universe where they have Wonder Woman and Batman and Superman, there's only one character whose city built a museum for him while he is still alive. I think it was I want to say it was Flash 165 where it first appeared, but they built a museum to celebrate him because he was so beloved. There's no big deal made about anything like that for any other character, because he is that kind of everyman character too. But but with what Kevin said, yeah, I definitely think not just utilizing his super speed, but his police forensic skills and his scientific knowledge, because he's the guy that, yeah, he can run fast, but he's also the guy that created the cosmic treadmill so he can travel through time. He's the one that whenever he's fighting supervillains, it's not just, oh, I got to run up and punch him fast. He's fighting Captain Cold or Heat Wave, and he's like, oh, well, I can use my speed and do this, or I can negate his powers by doing this through science. I always love it when he's in the middle of a story and he starts dropping flash facts.
Flashbacks, flash.
Yeah, and it's just always a cool thing to see, because like you said, Kevin, you're right. There's a lot of speedsters, and they all have their fine points, but none of them has the police skills that Barry has, and the scientific skills that help take him kind of that next level. How about you, Jamie? What do you think?
Well, for me, the best scenario he works in, for to my aspect, would be when he is just fighting his own rogues. I feel like every time he's fighting a major villain, or if he's in a team up book where he's got to fight like a dark side or anything else, Barry's always usually the first one to go. They don't give him that light that they should. So when he's fighting the rogues, I feel like that's when he shines the most. Is he's got his own cavalcade crew. Now, for those who don't know, rogues for Barry are actually the name of his villains. But for Rogues Gallery,
that's the ones in comics too.
Yes, it's one of the best ones in comics. But when you think of Rogues Gallery, you think of Spider-Man with the Doc Ock, the Green Goblins. You think of Batman with the Jokers and everything else. But the best rogues that we have is in the Flash. I cannot say it enough. So when he's fighting them, they bring out the most of Barry that you can see throughout pages, rather than him fighting a dark side or anybody else in that capacity. So I think he fits best when he's fighting his home turf against people that he's familiar with.
And one of the coolest things about his rogues, most rogues for superheroes, they hate the superhero. Even all of Barry's rogues, like, we respect
Yeah.
we respect Barry. We respect this Flash. We respect who he is, and we know that he respects us. It's a really interesting
Dichotomy.
dichotomy. I was going to say, but relationship with
Dynamic.
dynamic. That's the word I was looking for.
Dynamic.
Thank you. A really interesting dynamic between Barry Allen Flash and his rogues. I think it's a very interesting aspect of the character and his enemies.
And for the rogues too, I'll say, like, they always say it's, a great hero needs a great villain. And like I said, I put, his cast of villains right up there. I'd say like him, Batman, and Spider-Man have the best overall cast of villains. And one thing that makes the Flashes great is like they're three, like you read them and they're not just, like, oh, it's a bad guy who wants to rob a bank or take over the city. Like so many of his guys, like Captain Cold and Heatwave, of them are like three-dimensional characters, and they really get into it. And they've built them up to be characters that could easily carry some books in their own right. And they have done that with some of the rogues, where they put the rogues center stage, and it's something that helps make
Rogues Rebellion from New 52.
Yeah.
What is it?
The New 52.
Go figure.
Yeah,
Rogues Rebellion from New 52. Particularly from Forever Evil, which was amazing.
It was great. I love that one. Right on. But with that, let me ask you guys your opinion on what you think is the coolest, most badass, hardcore moments that has featured the Flash. And let's begin that whole thing off with Sal. What do you think?
Oh man, badass moments, man. There's like too many to even count from, but to narrow it down to three. The number one in my book is he's had races with Superman about the being the fastest person on the planet, and Superman makes the comment, saying offhandedly, I've beaten you sometimes. They were in this mission, they were trying to do something, and Superman's like, no, I'm going to do this because it's going to probably kill you or do something like that. And Flash is like, no, I can do it. I'm the fastest. I'll take care of it. And Superman's like, I've beaten you before in races. And he goes, Clark, those were for charity, and just like turns it into the high gear and puts him in the dust. That is a classic badass moment to me. I just love that. I just love that. Another badass moment was from the I believe the New 52, if I remember right. This was the Miracle on the Hudson, where Flash actually vibrates
issue 3.
Flash number 3 in 2011. He vibrates it through. He saves an airplane by vibrating it through the New York City bridge in New York City, so it doesn't crash into the bridge. That's epic. Something of that magnitude is just insane. And then the last badass moment I have is where he sacrifices his life to save the universe in Crisis on Infinite Earths, number 8. So to me, that was a very heart-wrenching moment. So I just, it just stuck with me. So I'm going to count that as a badass moment in my book. What do you guys think of that? Dan, what do you got?
Damn good ones.
Yeah, those are some good ones. I'm simpatico with you on a couple of them. Definitely. The scene you were talking about, the first was from Flash Rebirth, when he had like the negative speed force, and it was essentially making him the Black Flash, which is like the Grim Reaper for speedsters. And he decided, he's like, you know what, because the whole series he was struggling with with why he was brought back from the dead, why other characters were still gone, and why he was brought back, and the kind of the world passed him by, and he's like, Wally's the Flash now, and he's great at it, and why am I here? And so when he got infected with that, he's like, you know what, I just got to run back into the Speed Force. I got to sacrifice myself. The other heroes don't want him to, and like you said, Superman's racing him and trying to chase him down, and says that, he goes, I've raced you a few times too. And like you said, he just looks at him and goes, yeah, that was for charity. And then just, like you said, just leaves him in the dust, and it's just gone.
Classic.
Yeah, but that's the kind of character that, that Barry would be too, where, he's like, yeah, I'm doing charity races. I don't have to win. Like, this isn't about that. So it's a badass moment there, but it also speaks to who he is as a character.
Definitely.
Yeah, the other one I have is from Infinite Crisis issue 4, when Superboy Prime is just going bananas, and he, and he's fighting Superboy, and Superboy sends out the signal for the Titans, and like the Titans show up, and the Teen Titans, and like all these superhero groups. It's like 30 characters, and they are attacking Superboy Prime, and he is just pummeling all of them, and he kills he kills Panthera. He like absent-minded, like just knocks her head off without even noticing it. And like there's someone else, I forget who, he rips their arm off, and like he kills a couple of them, and the speedsters come in and try and take him out. And Jay Garrick, he's like, I gotta drop out. Like, I'm older, I can't keep doing this. He's like, I can't keep up. So he drops out, and then Wally kind of gets, he gets sucked into the Speed Force. So it's just Bart that's left, and Bart's pushing him, and Superboy Prime's taunting him like, you can't do this alone. You're not good enough. You can't do this. You're not the real. You're not the real Kid Flash, and all this. And Bart starts doubting himself, and then just out of the Speed Force, bam, Barry shows up and reaches out and grabs Superboy Prime and just says, you can, like, you are good enough, Bart, and you're not alone. I'm here to help you. And like, when you're reading it, you were just like, it was so unexpected. Like, that's awesome. And then,
that's like,
and again, like, it speaks to the characters, like, in your darkest moment, he's gonna be the one that shows up to help. And then, the classic one, it was Crisis on Infinite Earths, when he, the Anti-Monitor captures him. He's like, I'm going to use you and your speed to power this machine so I can destroy the universes. And, and he figures out, like, I can overpower this thing and destroy it, even though he knows with certainty this is going to kill me, but I'm willing to sacrifice myself so that the universe has a shot. And it was, it was sad, because he was a beloved character, but and it took 30 years for them to finally bring him back. But it was that, like, ultimate sacrifice, when it wasn't, oh yeah, this might kill me. It was, no, this is certainly, like, 100%. I'm not going to survive this, but I have to do it. And I don't know. What do you think, Kevin? What 3 do you got?
You know what? I don't know. I'm going to go ahead and guess Jamie might differ, but once again, the 3 of us are pretty simpatico. My number 3 is. Let me do the third one as the one that differs from you guys. So one of the things that makes him so cool to me is a relatively recent addition to the mythos of the character, and that's his ability to utilize the Speed Force to think instantaneously. There's a scene in The Flash number 19, I think this is the new the current run, where Barry tells Cyborg that the computer at the Hall of Justice, I think it was, is running a little slow. And Cyborg tells him that this is actually a supercomputer that can run over 100 trillion calculations per second. And it's too slow for Barry's mind. He's like, yeah, I know. I've already thought this through, every single different computation that one can think of regarding the scenario. Like, he could think instantaneously, which realistically would make the character stupid, as far as, like, yeah, I already solved all the world's problems in less time it took to actually utter this sentence. Number 2, proving once and for all that the Flash is indeed faster than Superman. Flash Rebirth number 3, like, Superman's like, you and I we've been kind of on the same level. Like, no, Clark, that was for charity, like we've all discussed. And then it's not just that he leaves Superman in his wake, which he does, but he like takes off and creates like a sonic boom that even Superman's like, Jesus. It was pretty great. And of course, number one is sacrificing himself to save the entire universe in Crisis on Infinite Earths number 8. Well, that one was such a visceral moment because they show Barry running and he's disintegrating and he's like, I'm dying, I'm not gonna make it, I'm like just turning into nothing. But through all of it, you see him continuing to run. That's what he is. That's what he does. That's who the character is all about. Sacrificing himself for everybody else. It was just such the pinnacle Flash moment. Those are my three. Jamie, what do you have different from us, bud?
Yeah. As usual.
There's on my list that I'm pretty sure Jamie's going to put on, but I want to.
Yeah, none of yours made my list. So number one, I've got going back and creating the Speed Force. When he became his own Speed Force entity and his own creator of it. Like, he is the reason it exists. He is the reason it is going to go away one day. So that's my number one. Number two, I have the Flash Wars. I was thinking about putting this on my list for my recommended reading, but I thought this was a better moment. And it's going to kind of tie into our critiques when we get into them. But this is a whole Flash family war on who is basically the fastest and what's happening between Wally, Bart, and Barry, and just to see him still care about, his family and at the same time demolish them at all costs was amazing. And lastly, I have Barry Allen becoming the symbol of hope itself, the Blue Lantern.
That was one of mine that I had to edge off, but yeah.
Well, I pick up the ones you guys throw in the trash.
Yep.
If we had done 4, that would have been my 4th. But I was like, Jamie's definitely going to put that one on.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that one was not going to go on. So that's there.
Absolutely, good call.
You know, I got an interesting fact. I remember reading this.
Flashback.
Flashback. Yeah, that he is more resistant to mind control than any other superhero ever been done because his brain is firing so fast that it's almost nearly impossible for him to be mind controlled.
I can see that. Yeah.
Okay, Flash fact to Flash trivia. Who played the Flash in Justice League Unlimited? Who is the voice actor?
Michael Rosenbaum, who played Lex Luthor in Smallville.
There you go.
Boom.
Yeah, I was waiting for everybody else, Kev.
That's all right.
You got to give everyone else a chance.
Man, that's all right. No, I actually didn't know that, so it's good.
Trivia and comics, man. I get excited, and I finish.
I could tell you almost punched the screen and his all your excitedness.
You got a little
I'd say even though there's some badass moments, I think there are some criticisms of some things that aren't great with the character. What do you think, Kevin? What would you put on there that you would change if you could?
A friend of mine actually ruined the Flash TV show with Grant Gustin for me because I was like, I'm really enjoying it, and I know that he's into comics too, and I'm like, what do you think? And their response was, I don't like it. I'm like, what don't you like about it? He says, the whole premise of the show is, Barry, you got to run faster. And I'm like, damn it. And now, so I think that is my biggest critique is when they reduce the character simply like,
just to his run.
I can do anything and everything that I need to do by just going a little bit faster than I was just a second before. And it's like, it's just
run, Forrest, run.
Exactly. And it's like, and I think that once again, it's lazy, but it's so easy to fall into that trap where that's the secret of what they do in order to make the character work is just run a little bit faster. I think it's weak. I think it's just, it could be done. Yeah, exactly. And just,
run using only your left foot.
Why do you keep falling? Get back up. Someone give me a Diet Pepsi.
And Central City is creating tornado after tornado after tornado after the Flash decided to only run using his left foot. Stop. Oh, God. But that's, I think, an easy, lazy trap to fall into, and pretty relatively common with writers that don't delve more deeply into the character. And that's just my take on the subject. What do you think there, Sal?
So, kind of harken back to our original points. They don't use the scientific knowledge enough for me. I like that aspect, and I think they should do more of it. However, what really bothers me is how some writers change the way his speed force or his speed works. Like, in some cases they can drag stuff with him, and use that as a weapon, which he has done. But then I've never seen it reused again in different situations that could have been used for. So it's just kind of like an afterthought. They use it once and it's done. That trick is out of the bag and it's never going to come back. That and what else was it with the speed that I was thinking about? There was one point where he was actually, this is not Barry Allen, but this is probably Wally. He uses the speed to nullify Dr. Sonic's sound, actually breaking the sound barrier. So it's a story with called Faster Friends, and it's Kyle Rayner and Wally West team up.
Yeah.
And they nullify him. He was like overpowered for something like that by him dragging him along and him breaking the sound barrier. And that just, that nullified his powers. It's like, what? Wait, what? Okay. But then that seems cool, but now I've never seen or heard that used up again. So a lot of his speed or a lot of his stuff that they use feel like are one trick, one and done type situations. You never see them again. So that's what I have. What about you, Dan? What do you have?
I do agree about the making him just a guy that runs fast without using his scientific skills, which it's not done in his own book, but as we've discussed with so many characters, on other episodes with so many characters, it's when they get involved in a team up, and he absolutely should be part of the Justice League. He's a founding member, and and he definitely belongs there. But there is the tendency of when he's on there, it's and like other characters, like, all right, he's fast, so we'll have him be fast. Batman's smart, and we'll have him be smart, and and tricky. Superman's smart or Superman's strong, and they like we'll kind of pigeonhole some of the characters, and occasionally they'll do stuff like they described how him and Green Lantern, he didn't like Hal Jordan at first when they first met because he thought he was cocky, and then it was in Rebirth, and then he said but then I heard him call someone a perp, and he's like, oh, I get it, this guy's a cop. And that's how they develop.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so like they'll touch on that stuff some, but for the most part, it's in the big team books and the big crossovers, it does just kind of make him like, all right, run fast, and then it'll be Batman saying like, oh, well, I make the strategy, so you got to do this and that. Like, no, like we said, this guy's a scientist. His brain runs super fast along with his body. Like, he'll be able to come up with this stuff. And then the other thing I don't like, which is something that's happened, I found more recently in some of his books over the past few years, is they tend to make him somewhat unsure of himself and question himself. And he's a humble character. He's definitely a humble guy, kind of an everyman. And it's always funny how they play up he's late for everything, even though he's the fastest man on Earth. But one thing he's not is unsure of himself. And like I said, it's something recent from some of the past few years, and I feel like they've kind of moved away from that recently. But for a while there, in his solo book, that was something that was like, I'd read it every month. I'm like, no, why is he so unsure of himself? What do you got, Jamie?
That's going to be completely different.
Yeah, it is. Don't worry. You know me coming with the different takes. So
he's like, I don't like how he wears bow ties.
Yeah, just no. With that, I would say, and I'm probably gonna get a lot of heat on this
Uh-oh.
one, so don't at me in the comments. Can we stop with the Fash family, please, and have him have a moral dilemma every 10 minutes? Because it's getting really, really old. Like, whenever they don't have a direction to go in with Barry, it's like insert new speedster here and let's see if he can like him or if he's not going to train him. And that's all we have. And I think that is the late, like you guys talk about, oh, he's a guy that run, Barry, run. No, he's the guy that has to take on a new family member from a different century every
third episode.
other year. And it is just the only one that I've agreed with so far is Godspeed. And that was a villain. And when you bring in like with the I think the best way they portrayed it was in Flash Wars. That's why that's one of my badass moments. Is because he finally was like, I don't know whether to like love you guys or tell you guys to go away. Like you guys we need to figure this out right now, or else it's not gonna work. But it seems like Wally died. Wallace came in. He didn't want to train Wallace. Once Wallace figured out, it was Bart. So he helped Bart because Bart was from the future. And then after Bart, everything that happened with him, he didn't want to train Avery. And then Avery's like, well, I'm going to figure it out myself. And he's like, go for it. And then he did. And then later on, he's like, yo, you got fast. Let me help you out now. It was just like, how many more speedsters do we need for him to have an aneurysm? Like the Speed Force just be like, and he'd be like, oh.
I find that also an issue with the TV show too. Is I think the show started off really good, but then over the years it just kind of trailed off. Where I dropped it about a year or two.
You know what I felt about? Sorry,
a friend of mine at work just started watching it, and I was telling like. Not because I was saying anything about it. I just was like, oh, what are you watching one day? And he's like, oh, yeah, I'm watching Flash because, watch it on Netflix. And I was like, yeah, it was pretty good the first few seasons. And then it starts tailing off when they get to the point where they're like, you know what we need to beat the villain? It's love. We need love. Like, shut up. But that was
love and run faster.
The show is like every season, here's the big bad throughout the season. Oh, it's a speedster. Yeah. First it was Reverse Flash, which was amazing. And then it was Zoom, which was like, you know what? That was excellent too. But then it was like, oh, and then it's Savitar, and then it's this guy, and then it's like, all right, you know what?
You mean emo Flash? Yeah. Emo Barry Allen? It was like, I can't do it. I can't fight myself. Like
Peter Parker.
That was
Peter Parker from Spider-Man 3.
Bully McGuire.
But yeah, it's like like that's one thing. It's like he can fight people that other than other characters that run fast.
Yeah, I agree.
I've always ached the show when it got to the point where I started dropping off from it to a Star Trek episode. I'll watch the first 10 minutes, get what's going on, and then I can go away. And then I'll come back in the last 10 minutes, and he's figured it out. And I'm like, yeah, all right. Everything in the middle was just like, okay, you're killing me. You're killing me. let's just wrap it up here, Flash. Come on.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But with that, let me ask you guys. I personally think that the Flash has one of the coolest costumes. The red and the yellow is just so iconic. And with that being said, I think there's a lot of really cool covers that feature my man Barry. And I would be interested in checking out your take on that, Jamie. What do you think?
Yeah, that'd be awesome. But first, if you guys do like cool covers, we have something for you. So right now, without further ado, Heroes Corner Comics.
Let's do it.
Let's check it out.
Everyone, if you're anything like me, you love comics, but you also love a good deal. And our friends over at Heroes Corner Comics have just the deal for you. From exclusives to back issues, graded slabs, current issues, and even set up a subscription with them. And all you have to do is use the keyword codex at checkout. That's CODEX, and you will save 20% store wide. So don't miss out.
Love it.
That was awesome.
Do want to thank Heroes Corner Comics for doing that for us. Again, I have bought stuff from there. I think pretty much all of us have at this point. It's 20% off store wide. That goes for their slabs, everything else. They are amazing. Go check them out.
Definitely.
And
But-
you'll probably be able to get some of these books we're about to show you on that site.
They are on there. I did take a look, so definitely go check that one out. All right, so for top covers, obviously I'm gonna start it off. I have first the Flash 105
wow.
with the Mirror Master. Now this is, if I'm not mistaken, this is the first Mirror Master.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
Yes. And I don't know, something about this, the way like the speed looks off coming out the Flash to how the Mirror Master is portrayed on all angles. When I talk about the rogues, this is what I mean. My second,
Yes.
it comes actually from Superman 199, and we've talked about it before. It's always got to be the race. And I think this was the pinnacle of covers with Barry on it. Just racing Superman, finding out finally who is the fastest man alive. And lastly, because I am a big old B cover nerd, variant nerd, this is from the Flash Wars. This is Flash number 49, and this is the B
That is-
cover at the
That
end.
is gorgeous. That is gorgeous.
Who drew that one?
This one
Is that Bagley? Is that
that
Bagley?
is it? I don't know. My face ain't close enough to tell you guys right now.
It
But-
almost looks like a. I don't know.
It almost looks like a Bagley.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure it is, but let me we'll double check that here in a second. I forgot exactly who was the artist on that one. But with further ado, let's jump and see what Sal has to say about it. Ready?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. All right, so these are my three concept covers. I'll start with the obvious one, Flashpoint. Awesome story, and just the way you see the suit disintegrating in this is just fantastic. It kind of like alludes you to what's going to happen, and so that's why I chose this book. Second one, the middle one here, we got the Flash from the New 52. I like this cover because of the angle, I believe, and the way the speed is coming off of him with the lightning bolts. It's like he's running into your living room, it's that type of situation. So, and my last but not least, Brave and the Bold. This is after they become best friends and start doing stuff together with with their stories. I just this is like almost like an iconic type of cover for me, and it just kind of just I don't know how to say it. It describes their friendship right here in this type of this book to me.
Yes,
It's a really good book.
It is a really good book. I do have the whole series for that.
Yep.
That is a good one.
I like the angle of the lightning bolt on his wrist, angled differently than the one on his waist. That is a minor detail, but really well done.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, if it went perfectly across, I'd be like, that's just lazy drawing.
It's like-
Yeah, totally.
So Dan, what do you got for your covers?
Well, I had to go with
There you go. Yeah.
the first one, Flash 123. I mean, it's an iconic cover. It was the first time that Barry Allen Flash met the original Flash from the Golden Age, Jay Garrick. It was really the first time that DC. This was the book where they introduced the concept of there being multiple Earths, and that Barry and the DC universe we know from the Silver Age is from Earth 1, and Jay Garrick and the Justice Society and all the Golden Age stuff was Earth 2. And like anybody that has read DC Comics knows, the multiverse became, a huge part of DC, sometimes for better, sometimes for worse. But this is all where it started. And again, it speaks to the significance of the character that not only was his first appearance kicking off the Silver Age, but this book kicked off the entire multiverse for them.
Yep.
And then it's a cover that's been homaged so many times. They even made a statue that you can buy that's of this cover.
Mm-hmm.
The middle one is the Crisis on Infinite Earths number 8, which is the one that we talked about in our Badass Moments, where he where he sacrifices himself to destroy the Anti-Monitor's machine to save the universe. And you look at it, it's just such an amazing George Perez cover. Again, it's another one that's just absolutely iconic. And the way the shadows are in it, and the pose he has there where he's holding Psycho Pirate, and you just kind of see a little bit of Anti-Monitor, and it's that kind of defiance where he's standing there and everything is on fire and falling apart, and he's just like, yep, I'm here and I'm still gonna go. And then the one on the end is Flash issue 323. It's just Flash versus Reverse Flash. There's a lot of covers that feature the two of them because he is the Flash's #1 villain, and in my opinion, one of the best supervillains in all comics. And to me, this is the best. What?
I said I agree.
Oh yeah, and to me, this is the best cover of them facing off because you don't need the background. It's just a black background and the two of them going at each other. And because the background is black, it makes them pop that much more. And just a gorgeous cover by the guy that created him and had a ridiculously long run on some of his best stories, Carmine Infantino. So how about you, Jamie? Cool. What do you got?
I already went. I think it's Kevin.
Jamie went first.
Oh, is it Kevin? Yeah. Oh, that's right. He did.
Slacker. All right. For my #1, I got Showcase featuring the first appearance of the Flash. You can't have the character without this one. It's just the best cover I've ever seen for the character. It's the perfect introduction to a character, in my opinion. And then the middle one, I have Blackest Night, the Flash #3, where it's featuring the Flash as the Blue Lantern. So with the Flash, it's been established that he can run at speeds greater than the speed of light, which I believe is 186,868 or 186,686, one of the two. And that just makes him such a ridiculously powerful character. So let's give him a Blue Lantern to make him even more powerful. It's just over the top ridiculous. And my third cover, what's that?
I said that white Blue Lantern just looks awesome too.
It does.
Right? It's so cool. And then my third choice is a Flash Rebirth #1. And the reason I picked this is because of the fact that it pictures Barry just kind of in a sitting position, not doing anything. But it portrays energy as this wafting, floating out of him, like electricity just flowing around him while he's staying perfectly still. That just suggests the potential power that this character has. I mean, that is intimidating as hell. If I just saw somebody sitting there and energy was like bursting off of him, like, nope, I give up. I don't care what kind of superpowers I have as a villain. No, I'm done. All right, I surrender. I'm not even going to try to mess with that.
Yeah, it's coming out of his eyes and like the lightning part of his costume,
right?
Becoming like real lightning. Yeah, it's badass.
That's pretty sick. But with that, let me ask a question here. With that, hey, Sal, what do you think? What do you think the best stories are for people that are interested in getting to know this character?
Well, it's going to be pretty simple. It's going to line up with my my covers as well, or at least two of them. I think Flash of Two Worlds, like Dan described it, it's an iconic story with the, not only with the kickoff of the Silver Age, but also the birth of the multiverse. So that in itself is just an epic story. Flashpoint, which also kind of dabbles in the changing the time frame and changing time. I think that's a great story to check out. And then my last one I have is the Flash from New 52 Move Forward, which was the first, I believe, 6 or 7 issues in that series, in that story. I think that was epically done, well written, and just well drawn. And it just it for someone that doesn't know anything about the Flash, you know nothing about the Flash whatsoever other than he runs. Check out this one first, because this one will give you the basis of his power set and the
Agreed.
character himself. So that's who I have, or what I have for the top reading. What about you, Dan? What do you have?
Well, I'll start off. I've got the Trial of the Flash from Flash number 323 to 350. The actual storyline doesn't really start at 323, like officially, but you really need to start it at 323. This takes place in the 80s. It's right before Crisis on Infinite Earths. So in his book, this is a while after his wife Iris dies, and it turns out she was killed by Reverse Flash. And he mourned. Time went on. He met another woman, got engaged to her, was getting ready to get married. And in Flash 323, it's supposed to be his wedding day. She is at the church. Everybody's there. She's in her gown. She's waiting for him to show up. But Reverse Flash said, I killed your first wife. I'm going to kill this one too. And he has to stop him. And he essentially, like, when going to stop him, reaches out and grabs him and ends up, not intentionally, but ends up snapping his neck and killing him. And that was the start of another kind of dark time for the character, where he became an outlaw. He was, kind of on the run.
Running.
The Justice, like
running.
He left the Justice League, and then eventually, but that started with 323, and then when the actual trial of the Flash started, he ended up being found guilty, and it ends with, everybody reveals what really happened. It was all this manipulation by Reverse Flash, and it turns out Iris wasn't really dead, that she was someone from the future, and she came back, and him and her go off happily ever after at the end of 350 to live in the future, presumably. Cut to a couple months later, and Crisis on Infinite Earths happens, and we've already discussed what happened with that. My next story is, again, 30 years later, when they bring him back, the Flash Rebirth. It showed, it's bringing him back, and where you talked about some of the badass moments from it, like the Superman thing, but it really shows when you read it, like how much he, as a person, meant to all of the other characters in the DC universe, because when they announced to the world, he's back, it's really back, him that's back. They have the Flash Museum, and they're throwing a big parade for him. And then it cuts to all of the different teams, and like the Justice League has a party that they have set up that they're throwing for him, and the Teen Titans have a party they're throwing for him, and his family has a party. And and there's just these things set up all over the place, because everybody just wants to spend time with him and celebrate that he's back, because they all love him so much. But he tells me, he's like, I can't, he's like, I don't have time to do this. Is like, I'm back, and I don't know why I'm here, but I'm not going to waste any time. I'm just going to go help people. And then it comes in with figure out that why he came back, that it was Reverse Flash that brought him back just so he could torture him more. Was telling him, like, I'm the one that's that's caused all the trouble in your life. They introduced a retcon in this where Barry's mother died when he was a kid, and his father got blamed for the murder and went to jail for the rest of his life. And Barry was convinced that he didn't do it, and spent his life trying to prove his innocence. And then this is Reverse Flash says, I was the one that killed her. I was torturing you before you even knew who I was. It wasn't, that whole concept was introduced in this, because in the original Flash series, his parents were both very much alive, but that also builds towards, just what a bastard Reverse Flash is. And then obviously they end up beating him, and he's back in the DC universe. But it was just it was a great book to reintroduce him and show what he means to all the other characters of the DC universe. And the last one is the Flash 50th anniversary special. This came out shortly after Crisis on Infinite Earths. And to me, it's just a book that I bought when I was a kid, when I really liked the Flash. And it's just a one shot. And it starts off with, taking place in the future, where there's this threat and the world's going to be destroyed. So it's this guy that fought the Flash, that fought all the Flashes. So we're going to send, they pick someone to send back in time to figure out how to beat him. So they send him all the way back in time to when Jay Garrick was the Flash, and this villain first started out. And he sees some stuff, and then he goes, and then he jumps to Barry Allen, and this guy who fought Jay Garrick has showed back up again, older, and he's fighting Barry Allen. And then they jump forward again to when he's much older, and he's fighting Wally West, who has, at this time just switched from being Kid Flash to the Flash, and then jumps forward again into the future, and this guy whose name was John Fox that they had sent back, he ends up gaining, through all of this travel and technology, he gains super speed, and using the knowledge he learned from all the Flashes, he uses it to defeat this villain in the future and save everyone and become a new Flash, who would show up in various Flash books, here and there over the years. But one thing that's, I think, is really cool about the Flash, probably more so than any other character, is the idea of legacy. That there was the Golden Age Flash, and then even in Barry Allen's first appearance, before they introduced the multiverse, it shows him reading a comic book of Jay Garrick as the Flash and saying like, "Oh, it was really cool. I love this character, and this was really cool. He had the super speed." And then when he gets his powers, he gets the inspiration from Jay Garrick to become the Flash. And then Wally West, has the accident and gets powers and becomes Kid Flash, and he eventually becomes Flash. And there's been a few of them, and probably too many, but the whole idea of legacy is something that's very important to this character, and I feel like that 50th anniversary special really plays into that by showing the same villain fighting all these different ones through 4 different time periods.
Right on.
That's crazy.
So who's next up? Is it Sal, or you?
Nope,
have a few
I already
here?
went.
Oh, you went. I'm
That
sorry.
went before you.
I think Kevin's up next.
Yo.
No?
All right. So, yep. Somebody?
Yeah.
There we go. For me, I agree. The Trial of the Flash was one of the coolest things, that I read when I was a kid, because it was the Flash. It was a murderer. That doesn't sound like the Flash. There has to be something else going on here, and just the concept itself, had sucked you in, because it was like I gotta know the background of this, because that just doesn't sound right. And then I got to go with the Flash Rebirth. It brings the character back after 30 years of supposedly being dead. Found out that he was in the Speed Force the entire time. And it was one of those things where it's like, oh, they're bringing Barry back. You have to just to go on this one. And Flashpoint was definitely the beginning of the at this point old trope where it's like, let's rely upon Barry to go back and completely screw up the timeline.
Yeah.
So
when in doubt, run, Barry, run.
Right. Like, oh man, it's kind of the old joke where it's like I said something to my wife that I meant, but I didn't say it the right way. Let's run back 5 minutes and try it again. If you're looking for the story about what can happen when you make a change in the timeline, and Flashpoint is definitely one of the best stories, involved with that. Definitely, those three are my favorite Flash moments. And with that being said, Jamie, take us on home with your reading recommendations.
All right, so I have the Death of Harris Allen, which is 275 to 284. I'm gonna make this as quick as possible because I'm starting to lose my voice. If anyone knows the stories, go for it. Jump in.
It's a good one. I mean, really, I would say for me, I almost listed it as, for my recommended reading, not just Trial of the Flash, but Death of Iris Allen at 275 there, all the way up until the end of the series at 350, because there was just some amazing storytelling that was done in there, a lot that was done with the character. And that was a time when they didn't really kill off major characters that much.
Right,
So
before it became a whole trope now, and everyone's got to dive for him to be popular.
Yeah, but that was a big deal when they did it, and it was unexpected. And then, like, she stayed dead for a long time. It wasn't like, oh, she's dead, and then 24 issues later, oh, she's back. Like, it was a while.
They brought her back during the Wally West era of the Flash, which was really great.
Well, really, they brought her back in the last issue of the series, 350, and then it was kind of revealed that she was like, I can't remember it exactly because it's been a while since I read that issue, but it was something where like she was really from the future, and when she died, her spirit went back there and it went into a different body, and then she came and got Barry, and she took him back to took him to the future with her, and they were going to live happily ever after, and that's when they had the kids that ended up being the Tornado Twins, and then right after that is when they did Crisis on Infinite Earths. But when she died, and it and he was devastated and trying to figure out who did it, and everybody was worried about him. Like that was some really good writing.
Yeah, and for
go ahead.
Go ahead. No,
my
bad. Go ahead.
I like Terminal Velocity. It almost made my list for the top stories as well. I thought that was a really good story. I think it was Mark Waid that did the story on that one.
It was.
And so I really liked that one. I enjoyed that story. Go ahead.
Can you go over what terminal velocity is for those who don't know, so that way I kind of save the voice for a minute?
Jeez. God. I'm trying to remember the whole context of it. It was a while ago. Anybody, Dan, you remember this one?
It was more along the lines of having like the first real big team up of Wally and Barry.
Bart and Impulse and stuff like that. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Wasn't that the one where? Wasn't that the one where they
blow up the city?
Isn't that the one where they introduced Savitar?
I believe so.
I think so.
Okay,
I think that's right.
The thing that made Terminal Velocity, I didn't, this wasn't on my list, so I didn't research this recently. So I may get the facts not quite correct, but my remembering of it is they discover the legend of an ancient speedster who's like the god of speed. And the Flash realizes that he can't quite beat him with his own level of power. And he goes and he taps into the Speed Force and absorbs all of the other speedsters' speed and renders them completely normal and useless in the fight, but like kind of supercharges himself in the process. And he ends up beating Savitar, but in the process kind of does the whole Barry Allen thing where he utilizes all of his power and disappears into the Speed Force, and they just assume that he's dead. And the next couple issues he comes back, but he's like pretty much made up entirely out of the Speed Force. He's like supercharged mainline, and that was the beginning of the Flash being
Yep.
being like the like the fastest of any possible iterations of the Flash moving forward. He was just super powerful. But he came back with the because he basically said that his wife was his lightning rod, and that it was his love for her that was the only reason that he was able to make his way back from that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
No,
that
no,
you're right.
You're dead on with that.
All right.
Yeah, and then for my last pick, I got The Return of Barry Allen, which is another Mark Waid book. If for those who don't know, this is where Barry kind of just comes back out of nowhere, and Wally's now the Flash, and he kind of has to take a step back and wonder what is going on. Like, where did Barry just come from? I feel like this is one of like the pinnacle stories of like how the Speed Force works, and like with Barry and Wally's connection to each other.
Yeah.
So that'd be the one that I check out if you guys want more of that intertwined era there.
And I also say, spoiler alert, it turns out that it's not really Barry Allen. So who could it be? You'll have
Yes.
to read to find out.
Read
But
to
it's
find out. I'm gonna guess it's another speedster.
It's Jimmy
runs
Olsen.
fast.
that runs on the right foot only.
I wasn't gonna give it
Barry-
away that it wasn't actually Barry Allen.
It's buried alien.
Yeah. No, I wasn't gonna give that part away. It'd be like, hey guys, guess what? Go check out this Barry Allen book that's not Barry Allen. This is a spoiler, Dan.
Well, I will say for what Kevin just mentioned too, I wouldn't really put it on essential reading, but it is a cool book to pick up. It was Quasar number 17, which is a Marvel book, and it was a book where this golden alien shows up and says, I want to have a race of all the fastest characters. They're like, of all the fastest people in the world, I want to see who's the fastest. And it's all these super fast Marvel characters. Makari is there because he was kicking around in the Quasar book at the time. And then it's Speed Demon and Quicksilver and Photon, who the alien son, like, well, you don't really run, so you have to touch the ground like every 30 feet or something to qualify for this. And I can't remember all the speedster characters, but it's all these super fast characters from Marvel. And then they all start this race and they're running, and then just like out of nowhere, like lightning bolt kind of comes in, and this guy starts running and ends up just beating the brakes off of every speedster that Marvel has at the time,
blowing him out of the water.
Totally destroys him. And when it ends, and he doesn't even show up till like halfway through the issue. And at the end, when he shows up, he says like, I can't remember. He's like, I'm not supposed to be here. I can't remember who I am. Like, buried alien, it's play on Barry Allen,
Right.
And he's got like blonde hair that's kind of long and ragged, and he's got this blonde beard, and this like tattered red and yellow clothes. And it's Marvel, so they can't do the DC character, and this is well after Crisis, but it's this whole thing where he's saying like, something happened and I shouldn't be here, but I had to save people, and the alien says like, oh, you were the fastest, you win, so I'm going to take you, and we're going to go to this other kind of race. And that was the end of it. But it was a cool little thing to read, like a cool little homage to the Flash.
It was Marvel's tip of the hat to such a great character.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yep.
But yeah, with that being said, like we've been talking about it the whole time, with these stories come great writers and great artists that come with it. So Dan, why don't you take us away with your top artist and writer for Barry Allen, The Flash?
Yeah, for writer, I really went back and forth between two of them. I almost went with Cary Bates because he wrote a lot of the Flash stuff, like the stuff that was on me and Jamie's list, the Death of Iris Allen and the Trial of the Flash, and like he introduced so many characters and stuff. But ultimately, I had to go with Jeff Johns. He's the one that that brought Barry back after 30 years. He had also brought Hal back after, everything that went with him. And, he's a writer that you can tell from his stuff, like really has an affinity for the older characters, and especially a character like Barry, like really gets the character, what makes him special. And when he was writing when he was writing Infinite Crisis, that originally kind of had him pop up, and then he was writing Flash Rebirth, and then writing the Flash series, like it just, he really got to the character, that he introduced some new concepts with the powers, but really got to to the point where it's like, hey, this isn't a guy that runs fast, but he does symbolize hope, and he does is a smart scientist. And so I went with Jeff Johns on that. And for artists, I went with Scott Collins. He's drawn, he drew more Flash books when Wally was the Flash before Barry came back, but he did he did draw some some of the Flash when after Barry had come back and taken the title over again, and he drew that Blackest Night series when he becomes the Blue Lantern. And I just Scott Collins, an artist I really like. He's got a pretty unique style, but it's really dynamic, and I always liked the way he especially drew Flash. And he's kind of become, over the years, him and Howard Porter for the modern Flash artists are like the two that are the ones that they always, like, anytime that there's a big Flash story, they're like, all right, these are the guys we're going to bring back to do something for it.
Right.
So I don't know. How about you guys? What do you got, Kevin? What do you got for writer and artist?
I got to go with the Jeff Johns as the writer. Dude knows the character. He knows how to write him. And I appreciate the fact that you could just tell in his writing that he's a fan, which, adds to it. And the artist, I got to go with George Perez, because I love how George Perez draws Barry. I wouldn't say not muscular, but he's not like
he's not jacked,
bulky, buff. He knows how to draw him in a way that's like, he's lithe. He has a runner's body. You can tell there's a little bit of definition involved, but there's not like, defined muscle on the character. It's just kind of a perfect way of drawing the character in such a way that's like, yeah, he's a runner. That's what he is. He's not a bodybuilder. He's not a weightlifter. Yeah. So the two, I think, I'd love to see a collab, but unfortunately, it is what it is. But hey, Sal, what do you think? Best writer and best artist for Barry Allen Flash?
All right. Before I shout out my guys, I want to say that cover that Jamie had was the cover artist, Francisco Mattina. That was the one
for
with
the 49.
With Flash 49. That was his artwork, which was amazing. But for my guys, I went with best artist is Scott Collins, who did Blackest Night. I just enjoyed that artwork. And for best writer, I went with Andy Kubert, who did Flashpoint. So Jeff Johns and George Perez, those are biggies, in the world, and you could never outdo them. But I want to give these other guys a shout out because I enjoyed their artwork, or stories and artwork, just as much as I did with George Perez and Jeff Johns and stuff like that. So
fair.
Jamie,
Jeff Johns was the one that wrote Flashpoint, though.
Well, he probably
Kubert
did
a
part.
Drew it.
What's that?
I think Kubert was the one that drew it, but
Kubert drew it. Oh, my bad. Did I get that mixed up? Did I get that mixed up? Well, it's just we'll blame it on the dog. We'll blame it on the dog.
It happens. It happens.
Happens to the best of
us. You could always.
I mean,
run
I've
back
out the wrong
5 minutes
tonight.
You could always run back 5 minutes, fix it, and come back.
Let's just run back 5 minutes and change that. I'll just say George Perez and Jeff Johns. There you go.
Run, Barry, run.
All right, Jamie, what do you got for us?
So for writer, I've got Joshua Williamson, who's was doing the new Flash from, I believe it was issue 1 of Rebirth all the way up to, I think it
He
was,
had a long run.
I think he stopped at like 750.
Yeah.
Which for it went back to legacy numbering after I think it was like 90.
And now he's
But
doing Dark Crisis.
yeah, now he like runs Marvel or DC. He's the like lead writer and has everything staged out. But
Nice.
for artists, I gotta go with George Perez, and there's only one reason that I have to say this, and it's gonna be definitively stuck in my head forever. The way he drew him running, and you seen the other flashes behind him, the other berries. You know how long that had to have taken? Jesus, and he did it like on splash page after splash page.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That to me is just like the pinnacle, and like you alluded to earlier, Kevin, it's more of he made him look like a runner, not a bodybuilder.
Right. Yeah.
He wasn't top heavy with the Kool-Aid man legs busting through a wall. He was literally the Flash.
I mean, George Perez it's pretty much like, hey, who's the best artist that drew this character? Did George Perez draw him? Yeah. Well, it's probably him then.
I mean, in some cases, yes. But when it starts to get to characters with hair and flowing hair, not so much.
I don't know. His Wonder Woman had an impressive head of hair in the 80s.
That's fine. Have you seen the Starfire?
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's not hair. That's energy.
That's hairgy. Sorry, Sal. I forget. Well, I'm the only one with hair on the team, so let me just throw out my long locks and see what's going on here.
Fair.
But yeah, I think that is a great place for us to stop today.
Absolutely.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for showing up. Thank you again to Heroes Corner Comics for always looking out for us.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for lasting this episode while I'm like incapacitated, sick. I tried to muster through this for you guys, so I wanted to put out one more show. Again, no shows next week. But as always, I am your host, Jamie. With me, as always, is the slab guy / fairy, which I'm still waiting for a slab under my pillow. Sam.
Keep waiting, my friend. It'll be there. It'll be there someday. Check me out on YouTube at Sal's Comic Corner and Slab Guy 77 on Instagram.
The artist at this rate known as Dan Kelly.
Yep, you can check me out on Instagram at Dan Kelly Art, # Dan Kelly Art. Commissions are open. I post music and art multiple times a week. I probably won't post as much next week because, again, since it is Thanksgiving, I will be overflowed with tryptophan and falling asleep on my couch much more than normal. But check it out anyways. And then we got this guy right over here. Why don't you tell us what you got going on?
Hey guys, unlike these slackers, I am going to be working through Thanksgiving.
I never said I wasn't not going to be working. I just said that we won't have shows.
That's true. That's true. If anybody will keep pounding it out, it will be Jamie. But my name is Kevin. I created a group over on Facebook called Comic Character of the Day, where we post a character, a question, a cover, and I post anything news related to the subject matter. And we're going to be doing a giveaway at 500 members for free comic books and other miscellaneous cool things. If you want to have an opportunity to win, come on over to Comic Character of the Day on Facebook and join up. And we'd look forward to seeing you then and there. Jamie, take us on home, my brother, from another mother.
As always, guys, if you haven't had a chance to, go check out the codexstation.com. I'm going to try to get this through before my voice totally goes. Your one-stop shop for everything Codex. You guys can check out merch, meet the team, talk to us, let us know what you like, don't like. Find us on all of our socials. We're on everything. Like, share, subscribe, whatever you can do to help.
Do it.
Help.
Right on.
Helps every little bit, helps the shows run, helps us keep
do
coming back.
Do it now.
That you just spiked the mic. I don't know how you did that, Dan, but it went red. And that's the first time. Like, I've got Kevin turned all the way down, and you're just like, boop. But yeah, thank you again to Heroes Corner Comics again for throwing
Definitely.
us in there for using the keyword codex at checkout, and you guys will save yourselves 20% on the whole store.
Definitely
check
check
it
it out. Good site, good people, good books.
Good deal.
Very.
Right
I
on.
like how that happened just there. I didn't even have to interject. But as always,
Yeah.
be kind to one another out there. You never know what anyone's going through. And even making someone smile could change the course of their day or life. So always be kind. And we will see you all in about 2 weeks because we're taking next week off, baby.
2 weeks.
Much love.
Cheers.
Peace.
Bye.